there's load shedding there.
Welcome to Cape Town.
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome to South Africa. All right, let's go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Elton. We are on episode 17. How sport has changed people's lives, and we have some interesting guests tonight. We have a young middle hall. We've got Baigum, who is the strong Africa, and then we have Fakhrie, who's got a social work background and is going to tell us a bit about that we go tonight. Let's start with Phia.
Can you repeat that question?
Tell us a little bit about you, Phia.
Here we go. So my name is Phia. I am 20 years old this year. I work at a primary school where I'm an intern there. So I'm between ages from 4 till about 9. And I'm a weightlifter. So I've been doing weightlifting for 6 years now. And it's basically my life is just going to gym and looking after children.
The silence is not uncomfortable at all.
aha.
I was trying to freeze to make like I was also a guy.
I think we have to take over
We can
hosting
take
for
over,
now.
we can dominate.
Okay,
Yeah.
Baigum, tell me about yourself. I'm just kidding.
So it's nice to meet you, Fia, and to learn a bit more about you. My life also entails a bit of looking after kids. My 8-year-old son, and also in the gym. um, yeah, professionally, I'm a firefighter at profession. Um, I do as well just training, obviously, to keep fit because our lives depend on it, and also the community as well, obviously. Also just for leisure, I'd say sports obviously a big role in my life, like growing up. So it's still something that I still do on a daily basis. Yeah, that's me. I'm 27 years old, and yeah,
Sorry,
that's
what is
me.
it for sport that you do?
So I do growing up I did like life saving. So that would be like kneeboard riding and surfing and swimming and just spending time at the beach really. And then I do jujitsu, yeah. And then I do jujitsu and just like whatever, like like hiking, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Amazing stuff, Baigum. I actually just came from a Waves for Change workshop. That you
Oh,
mentioned
cool.
the surfing. Yeah.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
I think it's my turn.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Seeing that we are hosting this tonight, awesome. Some experience. Okay, so my name is Fakhrie Arendse. I'm 28 years old. I am a father of 2 beautiful little girls who keep me up at night. My career, I'm a qualified social worker with my honors degree. I work at School of Hard Knocks, where I am the social worker as well as the program manager. Sport is my life, to be honest with you. I've played as many sports that I can think of. I've played rugby, cricket, soccer. I did Muay Thai. I did athletics. My current obsessions are mountain biking and hiking. I also damage my knees at least once a week playing five-a-side soccer.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, very sporty. I come from a sporting background. My family loves sports. I think we probably bond mostly through sports. That's probably when I see my brother the most, and we stay right next to each other. Yeah, sports amazing. It will be a passion for as long as I live, and I mean we all know the benefits of sports. But seeing that our host is here, perhaps he can
Back at it.
reclaim his platform.
Just in
Mr.
time.
Alton.
I got- Guys, I really don't on with my signal. I've got full signal. It's buffering and cutting me. It's kicking me out. Clearly, the three of you are too powerful for me to be
To be in
to
one
be part of
sitting.
this platform.
Guys, get your
Okay,
questions.
let's move over to question number 2.
You should
How
give us
have-
the question.
I actually have it here with me, eh?
Ah, that's cool.
I have some with me. Okay, perhaps we can start with Phia. Or is
Yeah.
Alton back? Phia. Okay, Phia.
Yeah.
How have you used sport to
Are you
change
there?
yours
Can
and
you hear
others'
me?
lives? We can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear you now. Do I answer the question or do I wait for a host?
How do you feel tonight? Would you like to answer the question?
I think so. Could you repeat the question again for me, please?
How have you used sport to change yours and others' lives? Or perhaps the
So-
impact it has had on your life?
Yeah, so weightlifting is not very popular in, let's say, the area that I'm in Strand. So we have one club in Strand and it's not that big. So I use my, let's say, platform, like doing weightlifting to just to open up in our area to broaden it, and because it's not very known in Strand or in Somerset, so none of my friends knew what weightlifting was, my family, because the first time when my brother went to the Commonwealth Games, that's when everyone knew what weightlifting is. And then just to broaden the sport in the area, getting new young people out of the streets, getting them into the gym. So it's just a like a recruitment, can I say, just to have everyone know what weightlifting is all about.
Amazing stuff here. Okay, is that Alton?
It looks like
I'm
it.
trying to log on from
I'm trying to log on
different
from on a
different
different
device. So let me get out of there.
It sounds like a Joel number, Alton.
It is. It's still going.
This is hilarious.
I think Alton's doing it for like an icebreaker. He planned this.
I think so
I
too.
didn't plan
He
anything.
did.
I didn't plan anything.
He definitely
Okay,
did.
I'm on my mobile phone. Maybe this works
Awesome.
better.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
much
Yeah.
quite clear. That's quite clear, yes.
Okay. So I missed all the intros. That's okay because I know a bit about each of you. So Phia, you were telling us about how sport has changed your life a little bit with your brother.
Yeah. So I was saying it changed my life, as in not only getting fitter, but to have something to do when I get home from. It was, I think, for me, it was to have something to do when I get home from school, and now it's to have something to do when I get home from work. So it's just like it was a hobby for me now, but I've taken it more serious these past few years. So it's just a little bit more than a hobby for me now.
And the recent successes you had, tell us a little bit about that in the All Africa Champs.
So, I mean, I was chosen to represent South Africa as a junior lifter in Morocco. And that was one of the biggest, it was the biggest platforms I've ever lifted on. And it was an amazing experience to just be there, to wear my SA colors, and not just wear my SA colors, but to actually medal at such a big competition. Because it doesn't happen often that our athletes or that our SA athletes get to travel the world or just get to leave South Africa. So it was a big experience for me, for myself, to leave South Africa for the first time. And it was an amazing achievement, if I have to say so myself.
So you got 3 medals there, if I remember correctly. 3 silvers,
Yes.
or what? Remind us again.
I got 3 silver medals. One was because in weightlifting there's a snatch and a clean and jerk, the 2 exercises we do. So I got a
Yeah.
silver medal for snatch, a silver medal for clean and jerk, and then for my total.
Okay. And these are weight category based, or how does weightlifting work? Please explain to
So
us, because some of us don't know how weightlifting works in a competition space.
So it is. Firstly, they separate the youth, the junior, and the seniors. So youth, you would be
Yeah.
below 18, and when you from 18 to about 21, you're a junior, and from 21 and above, you're a senior. So I was lifting in the junior category, and in that we have different body weight categories. So I think in the females now we start at like 49, so 49 kgs. Then we have 55, and it goes. So I was lifting in the 81 category. So all the junior girls that are in the 81 category lift together, and then they see who lifts the most, and that's how they do the whole medal ceremony.
And that is based on how many times, how many. So if you fail once, is that over, or how many attempts do you have at a particular weight, and how does it grow in terms of and what categories does it, in what denominations does the weight increase?
Okay, so for the snatch, you have 3 attempts. Clean and jerk, you also have 3 attempts. So if you say you fail your first one, you fail your second one, you still have a third one to go back
Yeah.
on. So, and in the best case scenario, you have 3 attempts, you pass all 3, and they obviously get your highest weight. And it's the same with the clean and jerk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that happens, and the training for that is every day lifting and doing all the different activities all the time.
So every day is not healthy to train every day. So I train on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, sometimes on a Saturday. So that's about 4 days a week.
Okay. Brilliant. Baigum, you are SA's most toughest female firefighter.
Yes.
It doesn't look.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look like you're a firefighter, my dear.
It doesn't. Everybody says that. And then when I'm at work, it's like, you don't look like a lady at all. You look like a man. So it's like, what am I? But I'm a lady. I'm a lady and I'm a firefighter.
You're a mom as well, and I was told that you were a top class lifesaver. You know, Mr. Francois gave me a little whisper in my ear there.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah. So growing up, we did life saving. My family's been in the rescue fraternity for all of their lives and all of my life. My mother and my father actually met at the National Sea Rescue Institute at the beach. And then growing up, we've just been a part of the culture and the community at the beaches. We've been doing life saving. All 3 of us became lifeguard and then squad leaders, and we kind of grew in that, Before that, I did gymnastics as well, and then I think just like with the sporting, I think it started over there, like with life-saving gymnastics. I represented South Africa in Rome, doing gymnastics as well. And then later on moved on to life-saving and then made province teams, my brother as well. So I've always been in the kind of competitive arena when it comes to sports. And then when I moved on to firefighting, the opportunity was open for a competitor position over there, and I'm like, what? Like a competition in firefighting? Like, how does that even make sense? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, see who extinguishes the fire the best? Like, it didn't make sense until I read up a bit more about the competition, and I saw that it was basically just an event, like the toughest firefighter alive, the title that I currently hold. It's a whole lot of events and obstacles that would simulate what firefighters do on a daily basis. So where it be like dragging dummies, the dummies like 90 kilos, or running up the stairs like with weighted, everything's with weights, with your PPE, like your personal protective equipment, with your SCBA set, boots, helmet, the works. Some of the circuits involves like running with equipment like hose packs and things like that. So it's a series of 4 stages that you have to go through 10 minutes for the whole stage, but you have 5 minutes to complete the stage, and then the remainder of your time is to rest in preparation for the next stage. So that's what you have to do through all 4 stages. Yeah.
So it's almost a bit like the Chicago Fire competition that you see when they need to qualify, that kind of thing.
To be honest, I've never ever watched a series or episode of Chicago Fire before in my life, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. but if it is anything, it's way more grueling than just an athletic kind of a physical intake evaluation. It's like for the first stage, just to paint like a picture of it, we have to run with like a charged line. That means there's water inside a 65 millimeter hose. You have to run out the charged line and then make up 2 hose reels. And then that's the first stage done. Your second stage would be to knock a Kaiser machine. It's just to simulate like a forcible entry. And then you have to drag the dummy, that's 80 or 90 kilograms. And then you have to go through a tunnel with a 25 kilogram weight. And then jump over the wall, like a 3 meter wall. And then that's the second stage complete. The third stage is you have to take that same 25-liter drum, and then you have to go up 3 stories of scaffolding. When you get to the top, you have to haul up 2 hoses and then run back down with your weight. And then the fourth stage is usually to run up the Civic Center. That's like 23 floors with your BA set. But because it was in Mossel Bay, there wasn't facilities to run upstairs. So we just ran on the beach, like a beach run in soft sand, which is also cool. Yeah.
But it's twice as hard though.
Yes. I'd say the stair run was actually more challenging. But that's just personal experience because I'm used to running on the beach, so it was more comfortable for me.
Sure. I'm just tired listening to all of that. And there's no way most of us would ever even consider that. Fakhrie, you from your vast history of sport, would you even attempt something as crazy as that?
Let me tell you, Alton, I think the only weight I've picked up in recent years is probably carrying my family on my back. Absolutely not. I think what Phia and Baigum have achieved it's amazing, and it's beautiful to see, especially coming from females. In my work, we put a lot of emphasis on women in sports. So although I've just met them, 20 minutes ago, I'm extremely proud of what they've achieved and what they still will achieve, in the future.
Definitely. So part of my conversation is around how those kinds of things, from your perspective, using your social work and psychology perspective, how that plays around in being mental awareness month, mental health awareness month, how those things kind of play around in people's minds, and how it shapes who they are and where they go and the impact that they have. Because let's face it, these 2 ladies are role models in their own right, and everybody around them, they are role models too already, without them even having to do anything, just by achieving what they have achieved. How does that impact from a mental perspective?
No, absolutely. I think especially the fact that they are so young, amazing role models. So look at School of Hard Knocks. That is what we are trying to achieve with our young people. So what School of Hard Knocks currently does is we teach personal and social responsibility through touch rugby. And part of our curriculum includes self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, and then also optimistic thinking. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to nurture role models like Phia, like Baigum. And people often ask me the question, so how would you teach these essential life skills using touch rugby? So an example I can give you is we may have a game, and the main theme or the outcome, the learning outcome, is that we are trying to achieve social awareness. So what we would then do is we would have a touch rugby game with our participants, with our players, and we would request that the one team perhaps play with their hands behind their backs, and the other team, they are free to use, all their skills at their disposal. And at the end of the game, when we do the debrief, the team with their hands behind, or with the one hand behind the back, they will always say it was so much more difficult to play the game than the other team. And then what we would then include in that reflection is that is part of being socially aware of other people. Not everybody has the necessary skills or attributes to achieve amazing things or certain things in their lives. So we always have to be very, very considerate of that. School of Hard Knocks, I always say this whenever I speak on any platform, we are a mental health organization first and a sporting organization second. And we've been doing a really amazing work with our players. And since I came on as the social worker, we've kind of adapted the way we address mental health. So we have a threefold approach where we don't only do lay counseling and psychosocial interventions with our kids or our players. We work with our kids. We also work with the school as well as the caregivers. And the reason for that is because we believe that holistic interventions is the most important thing. We know that when our kids go home, they go into very troubling and very challenging environments. So if we are doing an intervention with them only on the field and they go back into that troubling environment, it kind of undoes everything that we do. So we try to get the school and the caregivers to almost learn in a parallel fashion or in hand with our kids. And those skills that I've mentioned before, our caregivers are really taking these things on. We're really trying to break that communication barrier between parents and kids, because we find that is the main contributing factor to what kids are experiencing at the moment, which is really troubling mental health states at the moment.
Definitely, and in the previous shows, my comment is always, as a coach, we don't only coach the athlete when they come to training. We coach the whole athlete. So it's not just about when you walk through the door of the gym. You actually need to take everything into account. Phia, from your perspective, do you find that that as an athlete, there are certain things that get overlooked in a general space because you're a female? And Baigum, from your perspective as well, being a firefighter in what is predominantly a male-driven society occupation, how do you ladies deal with things like that? I mean, Phia ever thinks that a woman should be doing weightlifting.
Not at all. You would think when you hear weightlifting, you would just think, oh, it's just men that's going to the gym, men that's competing, men that's lifting weights. Yep. And when you see the narrative is changing, especially now, there is, like in our gym, I would say there's becoming more females than there is males, but it's only starting now, because past it was just females were not interested in lifting weights, or men would think that females, this is not something that females should be doing. But that's also the reason why I started, is to change the narrative as to it's something that men are predominant in, to have it be fair, have it be 50-50, or even have females take over. So it's good to see that a lot of females are becoming more confident, becoming more interested in doing these things.
And that's the way things are moving now, where women are taking a stand for what they believe and dealing with sport as an equal playing field. I mean, you can snatch more than Fakhrie and I combined. Let's be realistic. But it doesn't make us any less of a man or make you any bigger of a woman. Those are your strengths, and that's what you work with. Baigum, from your perspective, coming into a man's world, into a firefighting world.
Yeah, so touching on what you said about like people's strengths and weaknesses, females make up, we make up 5% of the brigade, so it is still till today a very male-dominated environment and profession to be in. Like you said, with strengths and weaknesses, I think when we're working and people's lives are in our hands, what we do rely on is each other's strengths, and we work on each other's strengths and work off each other's strengths, and then obviously just improve on our weaknesses as we're going along through training and drills and so on. But yeah, like you said, women, we come with our own strengths as well, and men come with their strengths, and then just blending our unique talents and abilities together out in the field, to get the job done, to save a life, is what we all do. Enhancing these strengths is also really important when working in the profession that I'm working in. There's no room for error, really. So when working on our strengths, we'd especially, there's no beating around the bush like about it. Being a firefighter is a physically demanding occupation, and one needs to be fit and strong, because your life depends on it, your crew's life depends on it, and obviously the people that we're tending to, being the community, their lives depend on it as well. So we need to ensure that it's our responsibility to look after ourselves, to strengthen ourselves. And being a female in this position, so predominantly, like what's like typically seen, or what's typically experienced, is that men are more like they're usually stronger than females when they're born. With muscles and whatever, hormones and whatever. But it's not to say that females can't do it. I mean, look at Phia. I mean, like you said, maybe you wouldn't be able to lift as much as she does. But in order for us to get to that point, and I don't know if Phia can agree with me, is that, for us to be able to do the same amount of work as a man, or even more, like she said, and to even exceed past their points, we'd have to put in way more work. Because I feel that in my industry, like for me to lift that 90-kilogram dummy, and for a man to lift that 90-kilogram dummy, it's different. He can just come without even training, and I've experienced it myself when I was training in the yard, and one of my crew members came to me and he's like, listen, you're doing it a bit slower than you usually do. Let me show you how to do it. But I appreciate it, because we have that camaraderie. And I said, well, yeah, please, no, show me how. And he doesn't even train as often as I do. He doesn't train half as much as what I do. But yet he came and he lifted that dummy up so easily, and he's just walked. Yet I am training every day, and just to do the same thing that he's doing in the same time that he's doing, but I have to put in double the work. So understanding and appreciating where my limits are, where my strengths are, and where my areas more weaknesses or points of work are, is also like an important thing for me as a female, and an individual in the profession that I'm in. Yeah.
And that also mentally takes its toll on you in one way or another, because you mentally have to get your head around it as a woman before you even do anything else, because psychologically you need to get into a space where I can compete with pit pompies on a similar basis, but I've got to work twice as hard. Do you find that that's the case?
So growing up, we were my mother especially, because she's also quite Oh, I think your laptop switched back on.
Yeah, I see so.
Yeah. So like with my mother, my father, and my sister, like as well, we were always raised to believe, like, like even though we are girls, we can do like literally whatever we want to do. We can do it. Like there's no limit. There's no point. There's no things for boys to do, and there's no things for girls to do. We can do whatever we want to do. So getting past that point isn't even a strain for me. Getting past that point is a challenge that I welcome each and every time. It's not that I'm going to beat the guy, or I want to be stronger than the guy. It's not about that. It's just that it's every time there's a challenge, it's an opportunity for me to beat myself, for me to grow, for me to excel, for me to exceed past the point where I came from. And then as time passes and change happens, the way I add value also changes, and view life from a different vantage point each and every time I overcome those challenges. So for me, it's quite rewarding in the sense. So it's not like really a challenge that I would like have to like feel any way about. It's something I welcome.
And that's the key, Fakhrie, is that we need to be in a position where we challenge ourselves rather than measure against someone else. Yes, we need to be competitive. If I look at Phia's competitive, Begum's competitive in their own space when they're competing, but in training and in improving, they have personal goals that they need to achieve. From a psychological and social perspective, how does that play out in the head and in society?
I really like what Baigum and Phia mentioned, and to be honest with you, if I look at our participants, our girls are probably 100% more focused and driven than our boys. And I think the stereotype, especially from a physical perspective, that girls can't do this or girls can't do that. What we've done with our participants is we want them, or rather, we've actually successfully managed to have them think of the accolades or the achievements in relation to themselves rather than comparing themselves to the boys. But I think the stereotype when it comes to girls' physicality and boys' physicality has really driven our girls and motivated them to really challenge themselves. Sometimes I'm in a session and I kind of question, are our girls actually enjoying the session? Because they actually sometimes look so serious. But they're really just enjoying themselves, and they are motivating each other. They are extremely driven, and we're really trying to kind of eradicate, that kind of thinking where girls tell themselves, I can't do this. In fact, when we initially enroll certain participants, or especially the girls, into the program, and we give them kind of a baseline survey. And the surveys would suggest that the girls don't actually believe that they can play a sport like touch rugby, which is predominantly played by males. But over time, that thinking changes dramatically. In fact, the thinking changes with the boys as well. I think the boys are probably the biggest culprits, who would say, no, but girls can't play touch rugby. They've never seen a girl play touch rugby. They've never seen a girl with a rugby ball in their hands. But by the end of the year, before they graduate from the program, the boys would say, you know what, I actually have no qualms in believing that girls can do exactly what boys are doing. And the amazing thing about this is that it translates to other areas of their lives as well, whether it be sport, whether it be anything, and I think that is the power of sport, is that we can kind of mold girls and boys to believe in themselves, especially when it comes to things that they previously believed that they couldn't do. And Phia and Baigum are great examples of that.
Agree, and part of it is how we're raised in society, and it's weird that the same type of thing gets raised every week, where the perception is that, or the understanding is that society has been determined, the order of society has been determined through religion. The role of males, the role of females, the role of how children should behave, all of those kinds of things is kind of predetermined, and yet we are now in a space where we are breaking those molds. If I look at what Phia has done, if I look at what Begum's done, and even if I look in a general space, in the way that people embrace their sexuality, where people are now open to say, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I have no gender, and previously you would never have that kind of conversation. And you're right, Fakhrie, sport has to a degree helped us break those boundaries, but it's also helped us unite, where we realize that despite our differences, we're able to work together to a common goal in using touch rugby as an example. Would you agree or disagree from a social perspective?
I think we've made really huge strides, in breaking down certain barriers. And yeah, look, we really want to foster society, especially in nurturing youth, to believe in themselves in all facets of their lives. I think that's very important. And one of the key competencies of our curriculum is actually optimistic thinking. And what optimistic thinking is creating a mindset of being hopeful and positive for what's currently happening in your life now and for the future. So we don't want, one of our goals is that we don't want anyone to graduate from our program ever thinking of a certain avenue in their lives and not choosing to pursue it because of something like their gender or their race or their age or whatever it may be. I think creating opportunities, I think that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And in a country like South Africa, you know, we come from a very unequal background, you know. We are putting in the work to really address all of those things.
Definitely. Let's change it. If you just tuned in, you're welcome to ask your questions to Phia, to Baigum, and to Fakhrie on how sport has changed their lives, both in terms of their personal capacity. One as a Phia as a weightlifter, Baigum as SA's toughest female firefighter, Fakhrie from a social work psychological perspective. Please post your questions in the comments, and definitely we will raise them. So some of the comments thus far, guys, is well done, Phia, from Leon. Leon says a liquor show. Donna says I wouldn't put it past Alton to do an icebreaker. Donna, it was an icebreaker. There was an issue with my Wi-Fi. We eventually got it sorted. I got someone to come and help me in the background to try and sort it out. And I'm back on my laptop, so it wasn't the icebreaker, Donna. But you're right, I would do something like that, but not in a platform like this. Leon says awesome accolades to the and that the panelists have achieved. Well done. Baigum, I don't know if you know Nadia, who's also a firefighter, who says great panel, and she says the firefighters are on fire. And she's involved in rugby, I think it is, Nadia. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, netball.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a firefighter, and we've had Leanne on before, who's a rugby coach, referee, who's also a fire. What do you call yourself, a firefighter or a fire person?
Firefighter, yes, firefighter.
Okay. I just want to make sure I don't get it wrong, Fakhrie, you know?
Yes. No, you're 100% right.
Yay! 10 points for me because my Wi-Fi. So let me ask all three of you this question. In what has been the lowest point and the highest point in your sporting career over the since you've been involved in sport? And I mean, Phia, in your case, it's been vast. Baigum, it's been 5 different codes of sport. Fakhrie's been physical sport, but also from an academic perspective. The floor is open. Baigum, let's start with you.
For me, like I mentioned earlier, I came from I just competed in the World Firefighter Games in Portugal in May, and I didn't do too well. It was my first international firefighting competition, and then I came back and did the local one, like the national one, like all the firefighters in South Africa now in Mossel Bay, and just competing again and training with a few of my mates, like it was really something that I needed and something that they needed as well, because I was put in the position where it was their first time competing, and I had to guide them along the lines of like training and what they could expect for the competition and everything. And then on the actual day of the competition in Mossel Bay, I noticed like one of the greatest lessons that stood out for me so far was not my own accomplishments, but it was just watching and experiencing how the firefighters all displayed like their grit and determination to finish the circuit. For me, seeing that and being part of that was something really powerful. And like I mentioned earlier, like just I remember at the beginning of the competition they said Baigum Abrahams up in 1 minute 30 seconds, and I looked over to one of my training partners, Dale, and I told him my life is about to change in the next 1 minute and 30 seconds. Yeah. And he looked at me and he's like, no, you're going to win again. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm probably going to, but it's still going to change, because with every stage, with every leg of the competition, with every part of it, you're growing, and as you're growing, like I mentioned earlier, like I'm viewing life from different vantage points continuously, and just coming back with that personal growth is something that's really amazing, and that's something I really keep going back for. So to watch those around me excel and succeed, and and just come back with all of the lessons. That for me was that was the greatest win for me. Yeah, I won it, but it didn't really stand out much to me. But like just like seeing everybody else around me and me being in the position to lead them with their training, and they competed really well. Not all of them got medals. And Dale, he got a medal. He came first in his category and then third overall as well. But another one, Tristan Neyman, the other guy, he never got a medal. But like it also shows that like success isn't always measured in the amount of medals you have or amount of like accolades or things you have in life. It's literally like it shows one that it's like the journey and sports often leaves open this window of opportunity for these moments of growth where we can see that our success isn't always defined by what we win, but it's also like just can also be defined by what we learn. So you win and you learn, and I think for me that's the greatest thing that stands out for me. And that I don't know if that answers the question.
It does, and one of the things that stood out for me from the videos I saw was even though you were competing and everybody else were competing, it was like everybody was cheering each other on, which for me was a phenomenal thing to see. That even though you're competing against Phia as an example, when it was your turn to race, Phia was standing there cheering you on, and the camaraderie amongst the crew. For me, that was something else to see.
100% alternate was.
How does something like that play on your psyche when you have to go compete?
When the camaraderie that's fostered amongst firefighters is something that is cherished, especially at these events, and it almost it kind of takes away from that tension a little bit. You get into like your zone, and you don't really sometimes you don't even hear much of it because you're so focused on the task at hand. But it can also like I can relate back to when we're at work, like when we're out there working, conditions aren't always easy. I mean, we're exposed to things that people wouldn't normally be exposed to. Unfortunately, like things like death and, people's houses that burn, people that burn to death, car accidents, motor vehicle accidents. And these things are not easy for human beings to always bounce back from, but having a team that's there, giving you that same support, like through every step of the way, like it's almost like it's amazing. Like there's I don't know if you guys heard about that analogy about the guy in the hole, where there's a man stuck in a hole and a doctor walks past and he's like, "Hey man, help me out of the hole." And then the doctor's like, "Yeah, I'll write your prescription." He throws the prescription down the hole, and then a police walks past him and he's still stuck in the hole. He's like, "Hey, please help me out of the hole." He's like, "Yeah, no, I'll pray for you. And then he's still, and then his friend walks past, and then his friend jumps into he said, "Help me out the hole," and his friend jumps into the hole, and he's like, "Hey man, now we're both stuck in the hole." And he's like, "Well, I've been down here before and I know the way out." So it's almost like a sense where these are the people that goes through these difficult times with us. It's almost like something that we can always look to for strength and like, like support in times of difficulty at the competition and out in the field. So it's really amazing. Like it's something to come back for. Definitely.
And it's about building that inner circle that's there to support you no matter what it is. And Phia, from your perspective, I mean, you now went you went to an international competition. Who kind of was there to add on to the question? Who kind of was there to help you through it in a similar way that Baigum had through your highest and lowest moments?
So I had a very big support system on my way. Can I start with my lowest? So
Go for it.
I think it was in the COVID year. That was 2020. I was in matric that year, and that was when I wasn't training. I think I went to the gym for like once or twice a month, and I felt kind of stuck. I think the year after as well. So I felt stuck at a certain weight. I couldn't get past it. It was almost a year and a half. I couldn't get past it. That's where I felt like, okay, am I going to stay in the sport if I'm going to be stuck at this specific weight the whole time? And then when I eventually got over it, then I was like, okay, I saw the light. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the end. It's that was just okay. It's like there was something stuck in a tunnel, and then I broke through, and I'm just moving my way through the tunnel. And I think my highest would be I think with weightlifting it varies, because at the beginning it was, oh, I'm going to Western Province, I'm lifting for Western Province, and that was my highest. And then it's lifting at nationals, and I'm lifting, the Western Province teams are lifting together, and
Yeah.
then it's, oh, I'm lifting for South Africa. So it varies the more years you compete. But my highest would be lifting at an international competition, just seeing all the other countries that's there. And it was, I think at my work it was very special when, because I don't think they were also familiar with weightlifting, and as I started there this year,
Yeah.
and it was, we had our end of term assembly, and they called me up, and all the children was like, oh, Miss Phillips, you famous now, you famous now. and, they were, and it's like grade twos, it's like 7-year-olds asking for my
Yeah.
autograph, and I was like, for me it's not big at all, but to them it was, oh, I'm gonna live for South Africa, and it's a
Yeah.
huge thing. So that made me even more excited to go. There was like trials and tribulations for my trip, with like funding, and then a day before I flew, I tested positive for COVID, and then it was like, oh, another smash, I can't go anymore. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna test. On the day that I flew, I did another COVID test, and then it was positive. Then it was like, okay, I can fly again. Or then it was
Negative.
negative. Okay, I can fly again now. So then at that point I was like, okay, no, then it has to be meant to be. And it was an amazing experience, just seeing people from other countries like live in the flesh, lifting on a huge platform. I think that was the highlight of my weightlifting career now. But there is many more competitions to come. Like we have senior nationals in Mossel Bay close to the end of October. So then maybe I'll change my perspective then. But at the moment, it is African champs that my first international competition, and I did, and it was very good.
And you were saying something about your support system.
Oh yes. I had a huge, from friends to uncles, those cousins that you never know of, cousins, family. It was everyone put in all the 2%, 5% to get me going, because my brother is also in the sport. So then
Yeah.
they were like, both of us, we are representing the strand, and it's just the small little messages and donations and everything that got me there, and the help from like where I work and my family. It was just that whole big support system is what got me there, and is what's keeping me going.
Absolutely, and the tribe is so vital. As we said earlier, that is not just about what happens on the day; it's building everything up to that. Fakhrie, from
Yeah.
your perspective, give us the highs and lows before we unpack some of the things that were said by the ladies. Sorry, ladies, we're not here to analyze you. It just gives us it gives us a meat to chew on in conversation about mental health.
I think the low light, from a sporting perspective, I actually want to mention two things in my life. I think from a sporting perspective, I was the captain of my rugby team at one school. I was quite good. I was the fly off, scoring tries. My team was undefeated for 2 years. Then I moved to a new school. Okay. And the new school was high intensity, a lot of pressure, and not a lot of adult support. And my rugby career kind of just took a massive dip. I lost all confidence. It was as if I've never played rugby before. I really struggled. And then what actually happened is the next year, I actually went back to my old school. And all of a sudden, I kind of just rediscovered the spark, because I went into an environment that was very supportive, mentors and coaches, that really empowered us. Baigum made the example of somebody in a hole. And what that friend did is he actually empowered, his buddy to get out of that hole. So that was definitely a low light that was kind of saved by a highlight. And then in terms of my academic career, I actually want to make a bit of a shout out to somebody. But when I started at university, I had a very little confidence in myself in terms of whether I can actually bag, a degree or not. I wasn't the brightest cookie at school, I never really worked as hard as I could have, or in fact, I never actually really lived up to my potential. So when I came to university, I kind of came in with that same mindset of perhaps teachers telling me or kind of alluding to the fact that, you know what, you won't really make anything of yourself. And then one particular lecturer, I need to mention her, Alton, you know her quite well, Miss Violet Adonis. You know, she took me under her wing and she really um, contributed so much to my belief in myself. And from that time that she took me under her wing, you know, I rediscovered almost all my potential. I discovered things about myself that I never even knew I had. And that followed through, you know, throughout my studies and up until now. You know, my passion was always sport and people. So what I kind of wanted to discover is how could I marry the two? You know, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And I've worked very hard, you know. And last year, I actually was handpicked by the Alliance of Social Workers in Sports, which is a global organization for social workers in sports. At the moment, I'm actually the only social worker in South Africa that is a registered member of the Alliance of Social Workers in Sports. I hope to you know, kind of encourage other social workers to pursue mental health in sports as well. So those were my lowlights and my highlights. But what I'm actually trying to highlight is in both times when I was experiencing low moments in my life, there were supportive adults to lift me up. And that is something I will forever cherish. And that is what I'm trying to do now with our young people, is to be that support for them. Baigum and Phia mentioned an amazing support system around them. And I can guarantee that without that support system, you may not even have achieved what you've achieved today, because we do really need supportive adults around us. And sometimes it's something small as saying, Phia, Baigum, well done. That was amazing. And that is what young people need. Young people really need to be acknowledged so that we can have less lowlights and more highlights.
Absolutely, and the highlights are not the ones in your hair, ladies. We talk about other kinds of highlights, no? So definitely, I agree with all of you. And if I look at a young man that's watching now, Chris Willems, he was one of my role models when I became the Western Province cycling chairperson. He was one of my predecessors, and the things that he did, I aspired to do from that perspective. And the things that you guys spoke about, mentorship, role models, reinforcement in what you do. So Phia, Baigum, and even Fakhrie spoke about how people support you and reinforce what you did. My question then, Fakhrie, to you is, when we have that support system, it kind of helps us, right? But from a social perspective, when we don't have it, like you said, we kind of shift back a gear, or maybe even three, where you don't even score a try, kick a ball in a fly-off position, using your rugby example. And for Baigum, it may be that she's not able to pull that 90-kilogram dummy, and Phia may not be able to snatch 100 kg. What are some of the things we can do to try and excuse the analogy, snatch us out of there?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Sorry, Alton,
Fakhrie,
can
from
you
your
just
perspective?
rephrase that question a little bit simpler? Sorry, man. It's a
Okay,
little bit
okay,
it's
so
late. It's late.
okay. You know, there's a thing in Afrikaans that say stomstreke, eerste letter greep, twee letter grepe. You know that game? Or is it
I
before your
don't
time?
actually.
Okay, never mind.
I'm still
My
young.
mom
I'm
laughed
still
for that
young.
one.
Okay, your mom knows it. Okay, that's a good thing. So the question is, when we are in a as competitors, using your social worker psychology hat right now, when we as sports people are in a negative space, what are some of the tools we can use to quickly get us back into a positive space, using the
Oh,
networks and everything else?
I actually like that question. That is actually what I'm planning on doing my masters on next year. Is how social factors off the field. When I say field, whatever sport it may be,
Yeah.
how social factors off the field can actually impact, on-field performance. And I think the most important thing is having adults who look and focus on your strengths. We do know that sport can make you, but it can also break you. We do know that at a certain level of sports, and unfortunately, sometimes it's those very young kids, who are playing in what we could maybe call the kiddie league or the fantasy leagues, where parents are putting so much pressure on them, to the point where the fun is removed. And I think when we're talking about young people specifically, and this is for all parents, always make sure that your kids are having fun, because the fun comes first. We do know that sometimes our parents kind of want our kids to relive or live and achieve what they wanted to achieve as young people but haven't managed to. But let your kids have fun, support them. From a social worker's perspective, I would say a strengths perspective is the most important thing. We look at the strengths that our players and our participants have and focus on that. Not to say that we shouldn't be mindful of weaknesses, but we look at how can we also turn weaknesses into strengths. But the most important thing is focus on athletes' strengths rather than their weaknesses. Acknowledge when they've done things well, and in a supportive way, perhaps give them advice. So yeah, that is what I would say to the general public when it comes to sport, is be supportive for our young kids. That's why we call them supporters, is to actually support them. Just recently I was on a Zoom with damn it, what is this guy's name? From Thomas van Malen, who played for Arsenal, Belgium and Barcelona. Also Tim Ream from Fulham, and then one of the first team players for Manchester United. And they are doing amazing efforts, for mental health in sport. And they highlighted that. They highlighted the importance of having a supportive team around you off the field, to kind of just ground you. Another most important part of my thesis that I want to focus on is that sometimes we look at the athlete as an athlete only, and we kind of forget that there's a human being behind that athlete, the person first approach. And sometimes we need to see athletes as humans first, and athletes second. So support is the key.
Agree 100% with you, because you can't coach a hungry child, and you can't coach a person who's had an argument with their boyfriend or their girlfriend, because they're not going to deliver a success.
Exactly.
They're not going to come to training prepared
Yes,
for something, because their minds
exactly.
are all over the show.
Yes, and another thing, sorry, Alton, another thing we do at School of Hard Knocks, which works very well, is when we do check-ins with our players, we never just ask them, how are you doing? It can come off as small talk. They might say they're doing fine, they're doing good. What we do is we ask them, how are you doing physically? How are you doing mentally? And how are you doing emotionally? Because then it becomes really personal. And from those three little questions, we kind of discover exactly where that player is at right now. We address it. And once that player goes onto the field, they're almost a different person to the player who walked into the session.
100%. And as a coach, it's about giving personal attention, even though you have 30 people in your squad. At some point, you have to have a one-on-one conversation. From your perspective, why would you encourage me to play sport? What got you into it, other than your brother? It's not a family thing.
Yeah, no.
Why are you playing sport?
It was a mental thing for me, as well as a physical thing, because it stopped me from being bored at home. And it's not just about boredom, it's about doing something positive. So like what got me into the sport now, it started off as as a hobby, but now look where it's taking me. I'm being seen, I'm being like, let's make an example, in the newspaper. So I wouldn't be on the newspaper if I was just sitting at home every day. So it is a positive thing to do with your time. It's time management as well, managing my time productively. So weightlifting is a tough one to do, but once you're in there, you're in there. So I would even suggest you guys do it. So it is, when you have the time. If you have the time to do it, go for it.
I'll come to your gym and come do a snatch or three.
Too easy. I'll be waiting.
Coach Avanesh will come spot me when he comes back.
Yeah, I'll tell him. He's gonna end up calling you.
You will. Baigum, from your perspective, I mean, you've been involved in so many different codes of sport. Why are you so passionate, and why are you still involved in sport?
I think sport has brought about lots of grounding for me. Obviously, growing up, being physically fit, like my parents, just growing up, like Fakhrie was mentioning, it was always like around fun, it was centered around that. Like we did horse riding. My mom always said she wants us to ride a horse, be able to swim and defend ourselves at least. So they put us like in karate. They sent us for horse riding classes, and then we were obviously at the beach every single other day. So just learning around that, being exposed to that, knowing that sports is, fun. It's part of life. It's just like eating, breathing, sleeping, being physically active, just having a holistic approach to kind of like incorporating it into your life as a norm. It's like a normal thing. It's needed, like air, water. And then just building on that, like going to life saving, and there we learned that being physically fit is important, because taking it on another level, like I mentioned before, my life doesn't depend on it now, but like somebody else's does, being able to swim for myself and swim for somebody else, like in a life-saving capacity. So it's being surrounded by all of these different approaches to why I personally needed to stay fit or stay active. It was really it was a necessity for me, and it was important for my whole family. Like Fakhrie also said, his family is also very into the sporting arena and world, and just like Phia and her brother as well. So it's something that's really important, I'd say. When I had my son at a really young age. I was 18, and it was a month before my 19th birthday. And then it just, like growing up, like I started working like life saving from the age of 14. And that's like when I did my first rescue as well, from 14. It was an opportunity for me to earn money as well. So that was really a great opportunity that sports opened for me. My family didn't necessarily have the means financially to really support like me with all of the additional things that was happening at the time in my life, and I needed to step up and do something about my financial status and just my status as an individual as well, to grow and move on from that point. So I was actually just thinking about it this morning. Another reason why sports was so valuable to me, because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to bounce back so quickly after having my child. I had a C-section, and like obviously they cut through all of your stabilizing muscles like over here at the bottom. So to bounce back from that's not necessarily like the quickest or easiest thing. But after my 3 weeks that I had to wait for it to heal, I immediately did my retest for my life-saving retest, so that I am able to go back into life-saving and able to work again. And then I ended up working for the life-saving season like a month, 2 months after giving birth to my son. And if I wasn't in the position like my whole life, like training, being physically fit, I don't think I'd be able to have done that so quickly. So sports for me personally and is continuously, it's just going to be part of my life. And like Phia mentioned herself, it's like a positive outlet. It's healthy, and especially with the career that I'm doing now, I'm looking for things that's like like a healthy kind of outlet, like to relieve stress and tension and all of those things. So sport has really gifted me with opportunities to do that, like doing jiu-jitsu, going surfing, going swimming. These are still things that I'm doing, and still things I'll continue to do.
Definitely. And my question then to you is, as a mom, would you go out and take your and tell your child he must play football? Because that's often coming to what Fakhrie was saying. that is one of the biggest challenges, is that now you've now gone through all of these things, and I say, no, my son must play football because that's what a boy must do in a general space.
Yeah,
What's your
no.
approach from?
So no. So just like Fakhrie said, like with my son especially, everything is centered around fun. So it's like he's out there, he's fishing, he's swimming, he's hiking, he's surfing, he's doing all of these things, and without him even knowing it, he's building his skill set. He's riding horses, he's doing things, he's building his skill set. So without him even realizing it, one day he'll wake up and all of these skills will align, and he'll be like, what, I can actually do this and this and this and this. So what I do with him is I have like an agreement with him. He must swim and he must do gymnastics, but also provided that he has fun. The only reason why I want him to do these sporting codes is because it works like almost like all of your body parts almost at once. So he has complete fun, not even worrying about competition. He does jiu-jitsu as well, but not even worrying about competition or like how he's going to exceed in a competitive environment. Just making sure that every day he goes to class, he listens to his coach, he learns something new, he has fun there, he comes back home, we can learn and build on what he learned at class. And that for me, that is rewarding. Just checking in how he's doing. I myself, having done sports and being very competitive myself, I wouldn't put any pressure on him to compete, to do any sports. I always ask him, like even at the beginning of school terms, when the winter sports goes out and the summer sports comes in, I always ask him, listen, is there anything new you want to try? Like, do you want to do the drama club? Do you want to go to chess? Do you want to do cricket? And I'm terrible at ball games. I never played a team sport ever, like not netball, nothing. But I mean, if that's something that he wants to do, and he finds a passion in it, I'll support him 100%. So, as long as he's keeping moving, having fun, I'm happy if he's happy.
Definitely.
I
A
need
friend
to
of
work
yours,
with
a friend
more
of yours and
parents
mine
like
says,
Baigum.
say again, Fakhrie?
I say I need to work with more parents like Baigum.
Definitely agree. The converse is true. We have more parents who are not like her, and that's part of the problem in society. Baigum, a common friend of yours and mine, say Nuran and Nordin says, who's a great fighter. You and I both
yes.
know.
Yes.
Says incredibly relatable episode. Being a woman in a tough industry myself. In bracket, I'll put in there. She's a fighter. And always great seeing more women doing the things and breaking barriers. 100%. Baigum is a personal friend of mine, and I've seen her in action. Her passion for life and preservation thereof has always inspired me. Both women bringing fire to this episode. Respect to you both. That's from Nuran.
Thanks, Nuran. She's
well
amazing
done,
as well. She's amazing.
Absolutely. After a fight, she's coming here. She just doesn't know it yet.
She's fighting soon, actually. She's fighting soon. You must check on Instagram.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. After the fight, she doesn't know. It's now public, Nuran. You don't have a choice. I know her through softball when she played softball a long time ago.
I used to watch it.
Say again, Baigum?
Oh, sorry. What were you asking me? And I just said I was watching Nuran. I used to watch her play softball at Athlone when she used to play softball back there. Yeah.
Way back then, yes. There she's laughing because now she's coach. She's got to come in and tell us about the fight. I forgot.
She has to.
We'll have an offline conversation. Fakhrie, from your perspective, why would anybody want to play sport, my?
I mean, I can give you an absolute essay on it. But I think the most important thing is that sport is therapy, and that is how I see it. I always, when people ask me, especially when it comes to my career, why sport? Because sport is fun. If you can ask Phia, you can ask Baigum, when they are doing what they are doing, any challenge or difficulty that they may be experiencing at that time of their lives, during that hour, 2 hours, however long it is that they are doing this sport, that just goes away completely. And sometimes we need those breaks in our days. For myself personally, the days or the weeks when I'm not doing sport is probably my most difficult days. You know, you get your work, your pressure of having your family, you have pressure of work, pressure of academics. But just getting out sometimes and going for a ride on the mountain for 2, 3, 4 hours can do so much. And then another thing is, most importantly, is that it's a stress reliever, you know, and that can also then translate into your sleep. And you know what, when you sleep well, that your mental health is better, you know, and it's just kind of a domino effect that can go on forever and ever. I think especially for young children who are experiencing anxiety and perhaps depression as well, get them involved in sports. It really is therapy. Unfortunately, there's a stigma around therapy. You know, we think of therapy, we think of some old man asking us to lie back, you know, on a couch with some kind of watch, kind of hypnotizing you. It's not that. There are so many forms of therapy, and to some people, therapy can be absolutely anything. It can be sport, it can be reading a book. The most important thing is just make sure that you have some form of therapy in your life. And it's been proven that sport is one of the best forms of that.
Absolutely. And in the words of one of the most quoted passages from Nelson Mandela, sport has the power to change your life. But sport has many other powers other than just change your life. And we need to understand that sport creates a holistic person. It's not just about what happens on the field. It's about building relationships. I mean, before tonight, none of the four of us knew each other to a degree. I knew of each individually, and we had conversations. Now we've connected with 5,500 people that watched this already, as an example. You know, so there are so many. So now now you're a phenomenon, Phia. Now you're not just in the newspaper, you know. You're on YouTube, you're on Insta, you're on LinkedIn, you're all over, you know. And that's the power of sport. That's you everywhere. Now you're gonna walk down the mall there in Strand, and people's gonna ask you autograph. So in closing, I'm gonna ask each of you just to round up your last little bit of thought about sport, how it's shaped you, how it's changed you, and what this was like for you. Let's go, Phia, Baigum, and then no, let's go the other way around. Let's go Fakhrie first. He's never had a chance to go first. I'm about
what happened to ladies first? You see, we're rewriting the narrative. That's great. That's great.
We had this conversation earlier.
Absolutely fine. I think sport. I did mention that it's my therapy. You know, on when it comes to a weekend, either I'm engaging in some kind of sport or I'm watching sport. You know, and that is my downtime. That's my me time. Sometimes I'm screaming and shouting at the TV, but even that is my stress reliever. You know, and sorry, Alton, what was the other part of your question?
your closing thoughts and
my closing thoughts.
Your closing thoughts and what
my closing thoughts. I mean, I have to really give it to Baigum and Phia for the amazing stories. You know, onwards and upwards from here. I would really love to follow their stories. You know, and to see the amazing heights that they will eventually reach. I have a lot of belief in them. It seems like they are so focused and so driven. And should I ever have to, you know, bring in some role models to have a conversation with my participants, I won't look beyond them, because I think they are perfect for that, for modeling, you know, really good behavior. And then my experience of this, it was so much fun, you know. I think even when Alton's Wi-Fi was playing games with him, it seemed like Alton's Wi-Fi was playing its own sport with him.
It's good sport,
You know,
yeah.
its own
Yeah.
sport. You know, there was a little bit of a jolt that came in there afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. You know, I could do this every day. To me, this was a little bit of a therapy. You know, having a laugh, speaking about sports, speaking about certain challenges in our lives. And the most amazing thing about it is that I'm speaking to young people, you know, and that gives me confidence for a brighter future. I do, if there's maybe a request that I would have from a social worker to Phia and Baigum, is never stop believing in yourself and continue to inspire others. Sometimes we aren't aware, but there may be a cousin, and maybe a little sister or a little brother who really looks up to us. They don't necessarily mention it. So continue to model that great behavior, and perhaps that little cousin or that little brother or sister may turn out to be, you know, an elite sportsman, you know, that is known throughout the world, and not just in Athlone or in Belgravia and in your Strandfonteins, you know. And that is really what we are trying to do, really amazing things with young people. And thank you, Alton, for giving me a platform to share a little bit of my experiences. And to Phia and Baigum, it was amazing meeting you guys.
I think you are Baigum.
Thanks, Fakhrie. Baigum, you next up. Baigum, you next up.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Fakhrie and Alton and Phia as well. It was incredible meeting you guys, and I share same sentiment as well, in the sense it was a kind of a therapy for everybody, and it was so fun. Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity, and I will most definitely pass on the inspiration, even if it's unknowingly, to people, and continue to do my best at everything, definitely. And if ever you are wanting us to do some speaking or whatever, or just involved in any of your activities, I'm more than happy to assist you as well. It sounds like it's really exciting. It's really cool, yeah. And yeah, so thank you, just Alton, and just as a closing for me on my side, with regards to like the sporting world and sporting arena, and how it just changed my life and continues to change my life, is just that the thing I'd say that I love the most about it is that it continuously allows me to grow and evolve. And for that, I'm really grateful, and I'll just continue doing it. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It was really amazing meeting you all, and Phia, well done as well. Thanks, yeah, well
Welcome
done.
to you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Phia, from your perspective.
I think I can say the same as Baigum and Fakhrie. Also, thank you for sharing your guys' stories as well. Like from today, I didn't even know that there is firefighting competitions out there, and look, now I know. And when it comes to like being someone's inspiration, I heard a story from a family member. It was anonymous, but it was from her work, where one of the people mentioned me being an inspiration, and I was like, it was mind blowing, because I don't know who the person is, but it's like someone can speak about you anonymously and you wouldn't know. Like, to me, I'm just an average 20-year-old doing weightlifting. So it was a not knowing that I could be an inspiration for others. I've also have a sports background. I played netball from grade 1 to matric. And I wanted to, that was also a sport that I wanted to take further, but I didn't have time in the day to still go to netball practice and go to netball matches. So it was also a thing where I had to choose between. So, but I think I made the right decision at the end of the day. And to close up, I also just want to say thank you for the opportunity to have me here. It's my first time speaking live, and because I'm not very much of a speaker, but it's been a good experience. Thank you that you guys have been very welcoming, and it was a very nice atmosphere. And I see it's been like an hour 20 minutes. It felt so quick. And just the conversations that was going, and it was very nice being here. Thank you.
I think the first 10 minutes was just the three of you without me, so I had to make up the other.
I think we handled it very well.
We did, especially you.
Yeah.
I won't judge until I go back and watch the start of it.
I'm just forward sometimes, man. Don't give me credit for
Oh,
that.
great nose,
You need
Fakhrie.
someone
Great
like
nose.
that.
Yeah.
Because I would not have
Thank you,
done that.
Fakhrie, for holding the fort while I had Wi-Fi problems. I appreciate it.
In my work, every single day, I sometimes have to hold this space. So I just took initiative. Uh,
Guys, this was interesting. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you that each of you are inspirational in what you do, and how you do it. And often, like all of you said, you don't even know that you're an inspiration, and that's the biggest opportunity for change. And I use the analogy of throwing a pebble into a still water. The ripple effect that you have on someone else's life without you even realizing it, just by you being you. Hello, young man. Long time no see.
This is the brother I was talking about.
I know. Long time no see. So so in closing, we all need role models, and you guys have set the role models. The future looks bright because of youngsters like you. And yes, Donna, I gave my age away by talking about Stormstreker, but I feel young, I feel energized, I feel enthusiastic. Having a conversation like this with three youngsters, 20 to 35-year-old, for me, is young. You guys are the next generation for which we need to be building and working to grow you so that you can grow the next generation. We had people on whose shoulders we stood to get us to where we are today. You need to stand on our shoulders to go the next level. And that's how we build on people, build on the mistakes that the others have made, learn from them and improve on them to be better and to be more successful. So thank you guys for your time. Some valuable lessons I've learned tonight. One about Wi-Fi and two about mentorship. So I appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity. Definitely, we'll have you back at some point again. So to you guys who have watched and shared your comments, thank you. Tomorrow night, for those of you who have time, between 6 and 8, your very lady that you gave some praise to, Fakhri, Violet, and I will be doing a live
she told me
Facebook
yes.
and radio talk on mental health and the different aspects of mental health, um, on Facebook, and live in the AKR radio studios tomorrow night between 6 and 8, talking about what is mental health, how all
Mm,
the different facets of it: social, mental,
mm,
physical. There's
mm,
7 different facets. Let me not give it all away right now, but you're
mm.
welcome to tune in um, tomorrow
No,
night. And
I
then in 2 weeks'
definitely
time,
will.
we
I
will
definitely will.
audio talking about how heart and everything around your heart fluctuates and works when during exercise. So there's quite a few things coming up. Stay tuned and definitely please contribute as much as you can. So thank you everybody for your time. Have a good week. For those we'll see tomorrow.
You
The
too.
rest of you, next week,
Yeah.
same time. Thank you guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.